As a writing professor, students will sometimes ask me if they really need to worry about their style and grammar. After all, today we have so many great tools like MS Word or Grammarly and a host of AI programs that can just fix our mistakes for us. Well, a lot of professors actually feel the same. In recent decades, writing classes at university have shifted their focus away from style and grammar to devote more time to analysis and critical thinking, which are obviously very important skills in university. But from my perspective, paying attention to writing style is fundamentally an act of critical thinking, because you're considering how the writerly choices you make will influence your audience's perception of you and your arguments. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you're looking for a job. Your potential employer goes through dozens and dozens of cover letters, and they all sound like they're written in the same generic GPT style. And worse, they replicate the style errors and inconsistencies that we associate with AI writing. Well, there's a good chance that a cover letter written in a unique human voice will stand out to that employer, even just on a subconscious level. And that the generic GPT-esque cover letters, they'll probably end up in the trash. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to ask an AI program to write a paragraph explaining why we shouldn't care about grammar and style in today's AI-saturated culture.
In today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, it is interesting to consider that the traditional emphasis on teaching grammar and style may be becoming obsolete. At this moment in time, students can utilize sophisticated AI-powered writing assistants, such ChatGPT or generative pre-trained transformer, and grammar checking applications, Grammarly, to instantly correct and refine their writing. Further, they not only fix basic grammatical errors, but can also suggest stylistic improvements, ensuring clarity and coherence in written communication. Moreover, as AI continues to improve, these tools will only become more accurate and comprehensive, potentially surpassing human expertise in identifying and correcting linguistic errors.
Now, I've tweaked this slightly, but this is about 90% verbatim what the AI app generated for me. And from a stylistic point of view, what's wrong with it? Is this a lively, inspiring, unique contribution to the cultural discourse? Matthew Arnold, one of the premier literary critics of the 19th century, could offer some useful advice here. He wrote, "Have something to say, and say it as clearly as you can. That is the only secret of style." And that, coincidentally, is the first hallmark of strong student writing that we'll consider today. Good writing is concise. There are no redundancies. That is, repeated or unnecessarily obvious words, like an unexpected surprise. Is a surprise ever expected? It can also mean repeating information. The song was a huge hit. Everybody loved it. Well, if it was a huge hit, we can assume it was popular. Concise writing also avoids wordy expressions, which can often be deleted outright or just reduced to one word. Due to the fact is a pedantic way of saying because. If you have the ability to eat hot peppers, you can eat hot peppers. Wordy expressions like these take up valuable real estate in our paragraphs, and they make it sound like we're trying too hard. But in this sense, they are not as bad as weasel words, like utilize instead of use, prior to instead of before. Weasel words are vague or complicated seeming words that are trying very hard to make you sound impressive. Some of these can simply be deleted. Interesting, for example, may be the least interesting word in the English language. If something is really interesting, don't tell readers it's interesting. Show them with a good description. Make them see that it's interesting. So let's go back to our AI paragraph and fix these redundancies. We can get rid of "it's interesting to consider" because it doesn't add anything. "Be becoming" is also a little bit wordy, so I'll simply say it may be obsolete. Do I want to get rid of that adjective "rapidly"? I think I'll keep it for now because I do want to emphasize how fast these changes are occurring. But I'll definitely get rid of "at this moment in time." I'll assume the reader knows I'm not talking about the Pleistocene era. And we'll also be happy to root out that weaselly utilize, my least favorite word in the English language. Now, about that phrase, generative pre-trained transformer. Is it not redundant to pre-train? Training, by definition, is what you do beforehand to prepare for something that happens later. But I guess pre-train does have a specific meaning in Silicon Valley. In my classroom, though, it would not fly. So let's just get rid of that altogether. And just as a bonus for all true grammar nerds, because a baby cries every time an infinitive is split, I'm going to go ahead and put that adverb a little later in the sentence. Another common error in student writing is having an unclear antecedent. An antecedent is something that came earlier in a passage, and in grammar it often refers to pronouns like she, they, it that represent people, places, or things mentioned earlier. Anna and Anne are great writers. They have a unique style. They are Anna and Anne. The problem occurs when your reader can't tell who they are because your previous sentences don't have a clear referent for them. In this passage, who or what is they? Logically, it should be the grammar checking apps, but the subject of the previous sentence was students. So, which is it, the apps or the students? We'll need to clear this up for our reader. Our final hallmark of strong academic writing is an impeccable usage of commas and semicolons. Now, let's start with commas. Commas are really the ninjas of punctuation. They're versatile, stealthy, precise. They're strategic, but they have a powerful impact. You probably have a sense of when to use a comma generally, so this is not going to be a full introduction to commas, but there are a few uses of commas that students sometimes overlook. First, we use commas in research to separate direct quotations from the sources that we're quoting. The ninja argued, comma, style is vital to good writing. We also use commas to separate non-restrictive clauses or extra information in a sentence. The ninja, who traveled all the way from Yokohama, presented a masterclass on style. Presenting a masterclass on style is the important part of the sentence. The fact that the ninja came from Yokohama is secondary, so we'll use our commas to show the reader that this is not essential. Maybe most importantly, we can use commas to avoid miscues. Miscues happen when our punctuation or lack of punctuation changes the meaning of the sentence in an unfortunate way. In this first sentence, it looks like we're talking about cannibalism. In the second, we're simply suggesting to our ninja friends that now is a good time for lunch. If commas are the ninjas of punctuation, then semicolons are the lovely mermaids and mermen. They're mysterious, alluring, often misunderstood, and they serve as a bridge between two worlds. And while they serve a number of purposes, their main function in style is to connect two closely related independent clauses or full sentences. I love using semicolons, semicolon. They really make my writing stand out. You can see how the idea from the first half of the sentence develops in the next half of the sentence. It's like you're planting a seed and then allowing that idea to ripen. But the key is that on either side of that semicolon, you should see a complete sentence. You couldn't say, for example, I love using semicolons, which really make my writing stand out, because the next half of the sentence is not a complete sentence. You also have to make sure that there is a logical connection between the two sides of the semicolon. I love using semicolons. I also love the movie 101 Dalmatians. Well, other than the fact that you love them, there's no clear connection between those two subjects, so the semicolon doesn't work here. But you could say, if you care about our friends under the sea, you should use semicolons properly. As they say, add a semicolon, save a mermaid. Now back to our passage. Can we get away with a semicolon in that last sentence? Well, maybe, because the ideas are closely related, but we'll have to make sure that that second part is an independent clause or a full sentence by itself. So, there you have it: concise sentences, clear antecedents, and impeccable punctuation. I might not always see these hallmarks reflected in AI generated text, but seeing them in student writing does make me very happy. Just keep in mind that this is not obviously an exhaustive guide. Learning to be a better stylist is a lifelong process. And if you're a really dedicated student, it's worth picking up a good grammar and usage guide and going through it every few months to pick up more small tips here and there. Of course, practice is also essential, so as usual, keep writing and keep revising. Thanks for watching.
Get it right.